The 2025-26 NHL season just 1 week away. Welcome to Short Shifts, a product of the NHL Wraparound podcast. Vic and Neil with you. Breaking news on Tuesday morning, the stalemate between the Minnesota Wild and forward Kirill Kaprizov is now over as Kaprizov signs an 8-year, $17 million per season contract to stay with the Wild. It is the highest contract in NHL history, $136 million in total, and now this eclipses the 8-year, $14 million deal that Leon Draisaitl is commencing this season. And we'll get to the ripple effect of this in a moment. But it appears to me, Neil, that now that Bill Guerin's got some money to spend after he got out from underneath the Zach Parise, Ryan Suter contracts, he upped the ante by about $1 million from evidently what was turned down before.
Yeah, the Wild did. Not sure if it's Guerin or Craig Leopold who owns the team, which one of them. It would probably be the owner that decided to go to this ridiculous amount of money. So Kirill Kaprizov starts next season, 26-27, 8 years at $17 million per, and 16% of their cap will be used on one player.
How did you know that I was going there in my next sentence? Because we had promised not to spend too much time on Connor McDavid. I think that was only like a week or a week and a half ago. But we look at the ripple effect of what Kaprizov's contract could mean for McDavid, because you just mentioned the percentage of the cap that Kaprizov will be taking up for Minnesota. The maximum for one player is 20%. And with the salary cap going up to $104 million next year, that means Connor McDavid could be the first $20 million player in the NHL because he would be able to top out at $20.4 million.
And if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be him. So I would imagine that $20 million is what you're going to see Connor McDavid get now that these numbers are out there. But I don't know, Vic, the big thing for me is I don't know how you build a complete team, how you have a good, solid, strong lineup throughout your 12 forwards and throughout your 6 defensemen and your 2 goaltenders, you know, signing one player to this much money. I don't know how they're going to get it done. I mean, first of all, does Kaprizov to you, his name in the same breath with Draisaitl?
I don't think so. And we have already said that. So this is a situation where the Wild have not won a playoff series in a decade. And now he's got to deliver that, because putting up big numbers is not going to be enough. They're going to have to make the postseason and then have something to show for it if and when they get there.
But if he doesn't have the supporting cast around him, they're not going to be able to do it. It doesn't matter. As we saw with Edmonton the last couple of years, and we're going to see again this year, in my view, just because you've got 2 of the best, say arguably the best 3 to 4 players in the league, you've got 2 of them, doesn't mean you're going to win anything.
To a bigger picture here, and of course, everybody's happy that the salary cap is going up. There's more money, there's more revenue, there's more everything. But is the NHL getting themselves into a dangerous spot with potentially one player making now $20 million starting next year?
Well, I think the teams are putting themselves in a dangerous position if they pay one player 20% of the cap. Think about it, 20% of the cap. That means 1/5. So that means you've got to pay the other 4/5, the remainder of the 80%. And I don't know how the math works. It certainly doesn't work to give you a team that's built like Florida Panthers are built, for example, that are solid from their line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, and their defense pairing the same. You can't be as strong throughout your lineup if you're giving all your shekels to one guy.
Well, that's a pretty good segue, because The next piece of news here comes out of Florida, where Captain Alex Barkov is expected to be out 7 to 9 months with torn ACL and MCL in somewhat of an innocuous play back on September 25th. They're already missing Matthew Tkachuk, out until at least December with a torn adductor and sports hernia. So for Bill Zito and Paul Maurice, as the Panthers look for their three-peat, for them it's like going into a card game, but they don't have two aces to play.
No, and we've talked about this when we talk about a three-peat, getting that third cup, and I've said over and over and over again, there's so many things that can go wrong. It's hard enough to win one, and then it's really hard to win two. But that third one, I mean, it just gets exponentially harder as you go along. And already now with Tkachuk out and now Barkov, and we all know how important Barkov is. We've seen it the last 2 years. What a mountain of a guy this captain is. With him out 7 and 9 months, things don't look good for the Panthers for this season as far as championship caliber.
And we had talked about the great X factor being injuries. You and I have talked about it. Scotty Bowman mentioned it when we posed the question to him on the Hall of Fame edition. 7 months, you're looking first or second round of the playoffs, optimistically. On the back end of this, Barkov wouldn't come back until June if the Panthers are even playing there. So if you're looking at Bill Zito and Paul Maurice and how they're trying to mold this season, knowing at the beginning they're going to be without Barkov for the entire regular season, they'll be without Tkachuk for 2 to 3 months. How do you start to mold this team going forward?
I don't know. They've got to, move people up. Lundell has been able to move up in the lineup in the past. When Barkov was injured, he's been able to go up there and do a serviceable job. They're just going to have to play next man up and fill in for these guys.
And the next man up is expected to look like this. Sam Bennett now will move into that number one center slot between Carter Verhaeghe and Sam Reinhart. And the aforementioned Anton Lundell is projected to move into that second line between Eetu Luostarinen and Brad Marchand. And we should also note that Tomas Nosek, fourth line forward, is also going to be out long-term with a knee injury suffered during off-season training. So certainly, Neil, you got to think that the Maple Leafs and the Lightning and some of the other clubs, not only in the Atlantic, but probably over in the Metro also, kind of licking their chops a little bit, seeing, pardon the pun, a wounded animal here.
Absolutely. Let's face it, they're loving it. I mean, when I say that, they don't want to see anybody get hurt, but as far as competitiveness, they're loving it. They know that the Panthers are the top dog in the league right now, but now they're limping into this season.
Some other injury news. Connor Hellebuck left Monday's practice, wasn't feeling right after squaring up for a shot. TSN had all kinds of doomsday scenarios if he's out long-term and what's going to be the situation in their net. He's back on ice on Tuesday, and no word if he's going to play in the preseason game against Minnesota, but certainly looked like much ado about nothing there. Not so good for the Jets, though. Dylan Sandberg, one of their defensemen, out 6 to 8 weeks with a broken wrist, suffered on a hit from Ryan Lomberg in a preseason game with Calgary on Saturday. He's a second-pair defenseman and logged just over 21 minutes of ice time per game last season. And we mentioned the supporting cast for Kirill Kaprizov, Minnesota. This update, forward Matt Zuccarello, expected to miss a minimum of 7 to 8 weeks with a lower body injury. Kaapo Kakko, forward for Seattle, broke his hand when he was slashed in a preseason game against Edmonton last Wednesday. He will be out approximately 6 weeks. He had 30 points in 49 games with the Kraken following his trade from the New York Rangers. Out of Vancouver, Niels Höglander, forward, out 8 to 10 weeks with surgery for a lower body injury. That injury was sustained in a preseason game last week. In New York, Captain J.T. Miller left Monday's practice lunging for a puck during a power play drill. It was a non-contact event. Does not appear to be serious. Mike Sullivan lists him as day-to-day. And Alexander Ovechkin, Washington captain, all-time NHL leading goal scorer, resumed full contact practice on Monday for the first time since opening day of training camp. He opens the season just 3 goals shy of 900. So unfortunately, Neil, we do a lot of mash unit stuff early in the season, and this is something that just carries on throughout the course of a campaign.
Yeah, and it never is going to end. There's going to be injuries in hockey. It's a contact sport. It's a very fast sport. There's a lot of things that can get hurt. It's a challenge to try to stay healthy, but that's the way of the NHL. That's all part of the competition, is staying away from injuries.
We have some happier news here, both concerning goaltenders. And AndreFleury played his final game for the Penguins on Saturday against Columbus. He signed a PTO with the Pens and stopped all 8 shots in the third period of the Penguins' 4-1 victory over the Blue Jackets. Now, the teams agreed to have a shootout at the end of the game, even though this was a 3-goal decision for Pittsburgh. However, longtime teammates of Fleury's, Chris Letang, Sidney Crosby, and Evgeny Malkin all missed. And my new favorite name in the NHL after Ivan, Luca Del Belbalou, scored the only goal in the shootout. But Neil, a great send-off for Fleury, 3-time Stanley Cup winner with the Penguins, and second only to Martin Brodeur in all-time wins with 575.
No, and it's good. And Marc-Andre Fleury has gotten a lot of accolades since announcing his retirement. I mean, I think he's had as good a retirement send-off as Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier and the rest, and even Mario Lemieux. He's obviously really, really loved by the fans, and his demeanor. I remember when he came into the league with that big smile that he has, that he basically had on his face 24/7, and that was, I guess, his calling card. And the fans love him, and they've loved him in every place he's been, but particularly in Pittsburgh, where he started his career and now he has ended his career.
Also making the finals in 2018 as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights in their inaugural season, and of course finishing up his career with the Minnesota Wild last spring. But did you know he is quite the prankster, and he had one final farewell for Crosby and Malkin, because after practice the other day, the 2 future Hall of Fame forwards came out and had number 29 striping and flowers put onto their cars by none other than Fleury.
Wow. I hope it was watercolor paint that they were able to wash off right away, because otherwise that would have been a really, really tough prank to get away with.
Crosby actually said, you know what? This doesn't look too bad. So we'll see if the paint or the stencil job remains on those cars. In Toronto, James Reimer signed a PTO with the Maple Leafs. This is not necessarily connected to Joseph Woll being away from the team for personal reasons. Reimer is 37 years old, started his career with the Leafs in 2010-2011. He was there into the 2015-16 season. Since then, Reimer has played for San Jose twice, Florida, Carolina, Detroit, Anaheim, and Buffalo. So this is really the ultimate rent, don't buy player.
Yeah, and you got to wonder, though, will he get his number 34 back again from Auston Matthews?
I think not.
No.
Final item, and it's not often we give a lot of love to the American Hockey League, but it's time that we do so here. Don Stevens, retiring as play-by-play voice of the Rochester Americans following this upcoming season. He has been behind the mic for 40 years with the Amerks, the longest tenured play-by-play man in AHL history. And the press box at Blue Cross Arena is named in his honor. And, Neil, you cut your teeth as a scout in the AHL, and a lot of bus rides, a lot of long nights. It's not traveling like the NHL with chartered planes and staying in 4- and 5-star hotels. And this is a gentleman that really should be honored for 4 decades in an AHL city.
He is the Sam Rosen of the American Hockey League. Sam Rosen, of course, 40 years as the Rangers play-by-play man. Don Stevens as the play-by-play voice of arguably the most famous American Hockey League franchise, the Rochester Americans, a place there where Don Cherry actually played. And the Amerks, as they're called, have been around a long time. And certainly Don Stevens, it's a fun league, the American Hockey League. The pressure is a lot different than the pressure of the NHL. Nobody's angry at you when you lose games. I mean, they don't want to see you lose all your games, but they're not angry. They're not going home, with an empty wallet at the end of an American Hockey League game. So it's a whole different feeling when you're there. Winning in the American Hockey League is super enjoyable because it's just a small group. You've done it together, and you get a lot of satisfaction out of it. And you're also trying to climb a ladder up to the next level. So good for Don Stevens, and congratulations and happy life in retirement.
All part of a career that actually spanned 58 years, 18 years before going to the Amerks. Just a remarkable run for him, and hopefully he enjoys his final campaign behind the mic in Rochester. So that will do it for our show for today. NHL 25-26 opens up in 1 week. ESPN triple header starting with Chicago at Florida as the Panthers raise their second championship banner, followed by the Rangers hosting the Penguins. The Rangers now celebrating their 100th anniversary season, and the nightcap will be Colorado at Los Angeles. Also, at midnight Wednesday, we will be dropping the latest episode of our Hall of Fame edition with 3-time Stanley Cup champion, captain of the New Jersey Devils, Scott Stevens. So be looking out for that. On behalf of Neil, I'm Vic, and thanks for tuning in.